Hello everybody, my name is Jake. I am currently the owner of a 2018 Ford Ecosport, and while looking online to try and find enough information to try and do my DIY at-home work, it seems like there's a vast lack of information on anything to do with this vehicle just because it's not quite as popular. So it's really left me kind of in a bind when I'm trying to do all the maintenance myself. So there's a lot of stuff that's like in Spanish or foreign languages that gives information, but it's kind of hard to decipher. So what I've decided to do is make my own video series of all the maintenance that I'm doing to this car. Right now I just hit 60,000 miles. I like to do premature maintenance just as preventative. So now that I've hit 60,000 miles, I'm going to do spark plugs today. I'm going to do all the filters, fluids, other stuff like that. So I'm going to keep you guys up to date on that. So go ahead and tag along with me while we do all the maintenance for this. So changing spark plugs on this, there's no wires, there's just coils. So you don't need a whole lot to do it. The items that you're going to need or tools are going to be a 3/8 torque wrench capable of 15 to 20 foot-pounds of torque, a 5/8 spark plug socket, an extension around 6 inches, preferably one that has a lock so you don't drop your wrench or your spark plugs in your motor. Then you're going to need a 3/8 wrench, either a size adapter or a 1/4 inch drive wrench as well. And all this kind of stuff is really going to help pull it apart. I have the smaller wrench, but it's honestly not needed. If you have an adapter that you can put on here, that's also going to work. Or if you just have a 3/8 socket that's going to have an 8mm, you can use that as well. Then you're also going to need 4 spark plugs. These are the Ford OEM matching part number. So these come pre-gapped, have a protector sleeve. You can use a gap tool to double check your gapping. But these are the ones that Ford recommends. And I'm going to use all Ford OEM parts just because that's what the manufacturer recommends. That's what I'm going to prefer to use. So I have not been able to find any kind of lubricant specs on these online in the owner's manual. I may just not have seen it, but I've read through the manual twice now and I still haven't been able to find it. So we're going to do anti-seize on this, but we're just going to do a very tiny amount on the second and leading thread, just so that it coats the rest of the threads. We'll do that on all these. So you'll also need your pack of anti-seize. These do have the torque specs listed on the box. This one states that it's going to be 10 to 20 Newton meters, which is 7 to 14 foot-pounds of torque. So what we're going to do is we're going to go toward the lower spectrum because these are going to be a lubricated thread. So we're going to do probably 10 pound-feet of torque, and we'll call that good. All right, so after you pop your hood and you get it elevated, first thing you're going to want to do is remove this cover. It's actually relatively simple. All you have to do is pull up and it'll pop. Two more in the front. And it should lift straight off. This one is really weird. Sometimes it automatically re-pops on, so try and grab it from both sides. I'm doing this with one hand, so it's a little difficult. Go ahead and set that aside. All right, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to get a wrench. You're going to loosen these 4 bolts. All right, so we're going to use our 1/4 with our 8mm. We're going to go ahead and break all these loose. I've already loosened them all. You can see they're all loose. So then go ahead and remove each bolt. All right, once you have those 4 bolts out, the next thing you're going to want to do is just try and blow out the bay as much as you can. The reason be for that is you get dust and dirt accumulated on the top of your motor here. See all the debris and whatnot. So what you're going to want to do is either get a vacuum that has a blow setting, shop vac, put it in the exit hole, or what I'm going to be doing is just using a leaf blower. So you'll just want to blow it out. see it's removed all the dust and stuff that was stuck in it. And you just want to remove that because you don't want it falling into your motor bay or into your spark plug holes, because then as you pull the spark plugs out, it'll just fall into your cylinders, which is obviously really bad to have sand and whatnot in your cylinders. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to push down on this little tab and pull back. It'll snap back just like that, and you could pull your wire off. So something to keep in mind when doing this, I'm going to do one at a time. Pull one wire off, I'll take this out, do the whole procedure that I'm about to show you, and then put it all back together before moving on to the next one, because I don't want to pull all these apart and risk confusing one wire for another. They have it pretty well set in where each wire goes, so it's very unlikely that you would confuse wires. Ford seems to be doing a very good job at keeping things where they're supposed to be, but just out of caution, I would recommend just doing one at a time, just so you don't have that possibility, because there's been instances where I've been like, oh yeah, it lines up perfectly, pull everything off, go to the next thing, and then go back to put it back together, and two wires are so close together that you're like, wait, which one's which? So just out of a caution for that, I recommend doing one at a time. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to pull up on your coil and it'll pop right out. And you can see on these coils, they actually have a seal, so they keep them relatively clean on the inside. So you can see the plug down in there. We're going to go ahead and get that out now. All right, so something to mention on your spark plug socket, just as a caution, is make sure you have one with a locking groove. This is a cheap Harbor Freight socket, and if you actually look at the inside, I believe this was like $2. You can see there's no lock for the groove in there. So that makes it to where using your locking extension, there's no groove for your nipple to slip into. So I had to go down to Home Depot and buy one of these. It was $5. You can do it with the other one, but if you drop it, then you're going to need pliers or something, or a magnet in order to pull it out. So I just recommend getting ones that have the locking groove built in, just because it makes it so much easier than the other type. You can see the groove in this one right there. One other thing to keep in mind on your spark plug sockets is a lot of the lesser expensive sockets, like these two are, instead of having a magnet built into them, they actually utilize a rubber insert. So you can kind of see that rubber insert down at the bottom. So what happens is that insert slides over your contact point on your spark plug, and it acts as kind of a grip. So it kind of grabs onto it. It expands and clicks onto it. So when you pull it out, sometimes when you, especially on like this Harbor Freight one, when you pull out your spark plug, it'll take that rubber seal or rubber grabber with it. So it winds up being an issue, because if you may not notice it, or you're moving too quick, you'll go stick the socket back in, unscrew your spark plug, and then go to pull it out, and it'll just fall. And so that's kind of a pain in the butt. So just make sure you double check, make sure your rubber insert is in there. All right, so we have our socket all connected. This is why I like the lockers, because nothing's going to come off. Locker in the wrench, locker on the extension, and this is like the ideal setup for doing this. So go ahead and push it in. You'll pop it down onto the socket. You'll kind of feel that little pop because of the rubber insert, and you'll go ahead and loosen it up. Go ahead and take out your spark plug. And these actually don't feel lubed at all, so maybe I won't put any lube on them. So you go, you can see all the fouling and the see if it'll focus on that. Maybe not. We'll get the towel in the background so you can see. Stick it in my glove. There you go. So you can see all the fouling, and it's from the combustion in the chamber. You can see at the very tip, right below the arm, you can see that tiny, or the finger, whatever people call it. You can see that the very tip of that is clean. And that's because that's where the spark is coming from. All right, so you can see I put just the smallest amount of anti-seize, and I'm just going to press that into the grooves. And we'll go ahead and just wipe that on my towel here. So the reason be for that is you do not want a lot of lubricant on these threadings. It's just to keep it from seizing. As I thread this in, it'll spread it around on the rest of the threads. So this is going to be an ideal amount, is very small amount. Too much and it can cause it to go down into your motor. Too little and it'll seize the rest of it won't spread it between the rest of the threads. So this is what I'm going with. All right, so we'll take the new spark plug, go ahead and stick it down in the hole, and you want to do it by hand first to get your threads started. So go ahead and do it by hand. Oh, that feels so much better than an old plug. It's going in a lot smoother. All right, so you start to feel some resistance. Okay. So what you're going to do, once you bottom it out, you're going to want to grab your torque wrench. All right, so my torque wrench is currently set to 10 foot-pounds of torque. That's all it takes, right there. Go ahead and pop it off. First one is installed. So next, you're going to want to take your little coil, make sure there's no dirt, dust, or debris. No dirt, dust, or debris on the section that's going to sit down in there. Go ahead and press it down in. Get it all the way nice and snug. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and grab our beloved little bolt. Stick it down in. Go ahead and thread this all the way in there. So my camera stopped recording right as I was going to torque that down. So there's actually no torque specs on that. So the only information that I was able to find was people were saying in the forums, snug it down, but don't over tighten it, as it does go into a nut that goes just into that plastic. So you can over tighten those and you'll strip that out. And then one more thing to, I messed this up. Bloop, bloop. So then also remember to put your connector back in and connect your wire, and then you move on to the next one. All right, so now we've got all of our spark plugs changed, all of our coils put back in, all their bolts put back in, all our wires connected. So next thing we're going to do, go ahead and grab your cover. And this is actually really easy to align if you just put it over the dipstick and make this side center over that. It should align perfectly. Then you just push down. Check everything. All right, see, and there you go. Completely installed. So next, we're gonna go ahead and fire it up. All right, here's our moment of truth. Yeah. Listen to that baby purr. hood ajar. This thing's got a lot of sensors in it. It tells me the hood's up. Awesome. And there you have it. You are done with your spark plug change. So, like I said, there are not very many videos pertaining to the Ford Ecosport online. This actually pertains to even the Escape, the Transit Connect, anything that shares this same motor. And they're actually pretty similar between this one, which is the 2.0, the 1.5, and the 1.0 turbo motor. So it's all fairly simple, so this should help with all of those. But you know, there's not a lot of maintenance videos or how-to videos online, so I'm going to be posting more of these. If you guys like this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, whatever YouTubers say, and I'll try and do more videos to help out. These are something I'm really proud of. So the stock vehicle comes with like a road tire, and they actually don't make an AT tire that comes in the same size. So this is the only tire that comes small enough to fit on this rim without rubbing. Now the tire shops, Ford, they'll tell you that, oh, you might rub with this tire, but they actually don't rub. So these are the Falcon Wild Peak AT Trail, and these have been an amazing tire. Definitely a ton more grip. This is the all-wheel drive. I live in the middle of the mountains, so this is great. Anyway, so if you like this and you want to see more videos on how-tos with this car, make sure to let me know. I'm going to be doing the air intake cleaning here pretty soon. I'm going to take the entire manifold apart. The O2 sensor in the back I'll be changing. The mass airflow sensor, I'm going to be pulling apart the whole intake and doing a full service on that here in the next few days. I'm also going to be replacing the air filter, which is really simple. So you'll see that. So there's the mass airflow sensor right there. But you'll see this. This is really simple. So I'm going to be doing, you just hit 60,000 miles on this car. So I'm going to be doing a ton of stuff. I'm going to do an oil change. I'm going to do all kinds of stuff. So if you guys want to see all that, you know, make sure to subscribe. Hit the little bell button so you see, so you can do all this kind of stuff yourself. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.